Today, we're doing porcelain tile. And the best part is, we're doing it in my teeny tiny kitchen. Now, if you've never done tile before, it's actually not as hard as you might think. And hopefully today I can give you some tips to make that job go way smoother and to help you have a successful installation. Now, I was looking forward to doing a video that had absolutely nothing to do with rapid set, but then I found out that rapid set has a thin set tile mortar. Thanks, rapid set. Well, let's get started because I need my kitchen back as soon as possible, so let's do something cool. Now, before we get started on this project, I just wanted to address the elephant in the small kitchen that, yes, the guy that has a concrete countertop channel does not have concrete countertops in his kitchen. But I promise that will be remedied, but guys, I've been busy, okay? But first things first, this laminate has got to come out because ever since we moved into this house, I've hated that there was laminate in the kitchen. Laminate does not belong in a kitchen or a bathroom, guys. So I'm gonna start by getting the fridge and the stove out of here. Then I'm gonna uninstall all the shoe molding around the perimeter. Then tearing up the laminate should be absolutely no problem. It's a floating floor, so there's no nails or glue to pop out. So, do you know what's worse than having laminate floor in your kitchen? Having two laminate floors in your kitchen. I had no idea that there was another laminate floor underneath this laminate floor. Not the worst color, but it's gotta go. What do you think, Maisie? Do you like this floor because it matches your eyes? Alright, now we're gonna put down the cement board. Now, why do we have to lay down cement board before we do tile? Simply put, you're putting this over wood that expands and contracts with the seasons, it moves, it flexes, and you're gonna put something on top of it that does not expand and contract with the season, and it's not flexible, and it does not move. So we wanna make sure that our foundation, our substrate is rigid and does not expand and contract, so that way we don't come up with cracks in our tile. Now, there are a lot of cement boards that you can use, and they're all great. I personally love working with a Hardie backer because you pay a little bit more for it, but it is so much easier to work with. Instead of buying special tools to cut this, I can just score and snap it with a utility knife. And for the other cuts that I can't score and snap straight across from one side to the other, I can just simply cut it with a reciprocating saw. You gotta get these screws that come with them. They're specially coated so that they don't rust and bleed through the tile, but they also are self-tapping, and they have these special ridges around the head that will bury themselves into the Hardie backer when you screw them in. Now, the screws have to be 8 inches apart, and you don't have to do any measuring because they've got all these really cool circles stamped right on the Hardie backer, so that way you don't have to measure. This system is gonna make for such a nice, rigid, flat system for us to mortar our tile down on top of. So Rapid Set calls their thin set mortar all tile mortar, and it is a multi-purpose polymer modified tile setting mortar. So yes, Rapid Set has gone ahead and innovated yet another building material. There's good news and there's bad news. The good news is that naturally this will surpass all expectations that you have in any kind of thin set mortar, and then some. Bad news is that this is only available in a handful of Home Depots as of yet. So if this is something that you feel you need in your area, get into your Home Depot and start hollering at them saying you need to get this product in. In the meantime, you might have to special order this or get in contact with your local Rapid Set rep and see how you can get your hands on this stuff, because it's pretty awesome. So why is it so awesome? So this is good for horizontal, vertical, even overhead applications. It's good for porcelain, natural stones, ceramic tile, glass tile, mosaics. It's also indoor-outdoor, which is a really big deal. This is also good for large format tiles like we're gonna be doing today. The mixing is very easy. The bag calls for 6 to 7 quarts per 50-pound bag. I'm not gonna mix the whole bag up at once, so you're just looking for a peanut butter consistency. I like to add a splash of water to the bottom. It makes for easier mixing. That's a good consistency. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking rapid set, sets up rapid. I can't do that. This is actually one of their few products that does not set up quickly, but quick enough to where you can actually tile and grout same day still. Before I use the square notch trowel, I like to spread it out a bit first. You can't see this, but I've got a line drawn where my Hardie backer is gonna lie. Now you can see it. Now I'm just gonna flip it around to the 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch square notch side and run some straight lines. Anytime you see anybody else doing this, doing these swirls, not the way to go. Straight lines. It's more consistent and it's gonna be a better bind. And screw it down before the mortar cures. I don't think it matters, but I like to start in the middle and work my way out. You're gonna get thin set on your white paws. Yep. Do you mind? Okay, over here. Come over here. And you're in the shot. You're still in the shot. Yes, paw. Okay, out. Piece of cake. Don't forget to scrape the excess. And on to the next one. Pro tip, have your panels cut and ready to go. I want to do a video on world's most annoying tool sounds. Done a little over 100 of these and that noise gets real old real quick. Last one. Ha! Alright, and the last thing we need to do with this cement board is tape it with this fiberglass self-adhesive tape. Now this is the step that everybody tries to skip, and I'm guilty of that too. Seems very unnecessary and there doesn't seem to be a whole lot of point, right? Well, you've got to think, we've locked down these cement board pieces. The wood's gonna have a very hard time moving underneath these slabs. Where do you think it's going to move? It's gonna find a way.
I'm simply saying that life finds a way.
But it's very easy. You just lay this tape down in the seams. And put some mortar over it. No big deal. And then feather it out. Paw prints. By the way, when you're working out of a bucket doing any kind of masonry work, a couple of things that can be very helpful because things can get really messy on your hands and so on and so forth. Try to keep the tools out of the bucket as much as possible. I always use a margin trowel when doing this kind of stuff. It's very helpful. And when I'm not using it, I put a dab, stick it to the side of my bucket. It's always right there when I need it, and the handle stays nice and clean. Same thing with your 12-inch trowel. I always like to keep it right on the side there when I'm not using it. Again, handle stays nice and clean for me. But when I want to load up my trowel, got my bucket scraper, put it on the side, I can go ahead and place it. Got my margin trowel to get into those sticky areas and to clean things up when I need to. These are the 3 tools that make things go so much smoother when doing any kind of mason work. Layout and pattern is very important, so make sure to take your time to do a dry run, lay everything out. Make sure it's the way you want it, because you're gonna be stuck with this for a while. As far as pattern is concerned, with these 12 by 24 tiles, there was actually a number of ways we could have gone. We could have gone with like a side-by-side pattern or a herringbone pattern. We could even go with a typical brick pattern. But instead we decided to do an offset brick pattern. And it seems to be what all the kids are doing today, so we ended up going with that. Oh, you're not happy? Maisie is displeased. Maisie, I have a video to do. Okay, come on. Now, there's all sorts of different rules when laying out your pattern, but honestly, the main thing, I wanted to make sure that I had a nice full tile in the main entry, and I wanted to make sure that it was centered in the entryway. Over here in the other main entry, I've got this nice almost full tile, and it's going almost down the center of this entryway, so I'm happy with that. You want to lay them out in kind of an X pattern, but you want to lay the tiles out dry with the spacers in place so you get a nice accurate measurement of how many tiles you're going to go across and perpendicular. And this is what we're going to base our 2 reference lines that are going to be perpendicular to each other. First, I'm going to lay out the baseline, and I want to make that line parallel to either a wall, or in this case, I made it parallel to my cabinets. In this particular case, I measured out 33¼ inches here and 33¼ inches down this way. Then I snapped a chalk line. There's probably several different ways to find square, but one sure true method, and a lot of contractors and construction workers use this method, is the 3-4-5 method. I measured 3 feet from this intersection and made a mark right here. Then from this intersection out this way, you want to measure 4 feet. Mark that. Then you take your tape measure from this point to that point, and if you get 5 feet, you're square. If it doesn't measure 5 feet and it's a little plus or minus, then that's where you would bring the 2 lines to meet to where they do measure 5 feet exactly. That's your square. Once you have that perpendicular line established, then you want to snap a chalk line there too. Just make sure you have a friend to help you snap those chalk lines. Thanks, Maisie. Now, since I have this fun offset brick pattern, I wanted to snap a chalk line that was parallel to this line by 7 inches. Now I have 3 great reference lines to tile off of, ensuring me that I'm going to have a square installation. All right, let's mix up some mortar and start tiling. Typically with a 12 by 12 tile, you would use a 1/4 inch by 1/4 inch notch trowel. But since we got the big boys out, since we're using large format tiles, we're gonna have to use a 1/2 inch by 1/2 inch notch trowel. Lay the material down, but don't cover up your reference lines. Hold at a 45-degree angle and scrape. I can't tell you how important it is to maintain straight lines, and don't do the swirls. No swirly patterns. What the swirly patterns do is that they will trap air underneath your tile, and it will not allow the lines to pack properly. This way, when we press our tile down and give it a little jostle left to right and front to back, the air can escape out the sides and won't leave us any voids. By the way, All the tools I'm using are MARSHALLTOWN tools. Now this video is sponsored by RapidSet, not MARSHALLTOWN, but MARSHALLTOWN did send me a bunch of tools for free, and they allowed me to set up an affiliate link. So if you click on the MARSHALLTOWN link below and order some tools, I do get a kickback. So it's a great way to support the channel if you want to. Now another very important step that people like to skip is back buttering the tiles. This will ensure a very good bond. Then line your tile up with your square reference lines. Rock the tile back and forth, left to right. Then we move on to the next. We're gonna wanna lay out in an X pattern first. First, I'm gonna run them straight up the center of the kitchen, then perpendicular across the kitchen. Everything is gonna be installed around these established tiles, ensuring a square installation. It's gonna look fantastic. Now, obviously, don't forget your tile spacers. Tile spacing is 100% preference, completely up to you. I just keep it simple with these cheap guys right here. I chose 1/8 inch for this particular project, seemed to be the way to go. Now, you could either lay these down flat and put them in the intersections of the tile, but I find it more helpful to stand them up and put them on all four corners. Now, a helpful tip with these spacers is that these are so cheap and you get so many, you're never gonna use all of these. So what I do is to help me keep the grout lines clean from the mortar, I actually use them to scrape the squeeze out and then I just toss these out, grab another one. Gonna make your life so much simpler. A helpful tip when laying your tiles in place, it can be very tempting to place the tile down and push it into place. Well, that's gonna cause squeeze out in all your grout lines. And you have to clean those out before it cures because that is no fun chipping grout lines out. Just no fun. So what I like to do, I like to place it and butt it right up to the following tile, and then once I get it set, I will pull it away in place. Does that make sense? Now, the struggle to keep things clean while you're tiling is real. The struggle is real. But you do have to keep things clean while you're working. If you get a dab of thinset on your tile or fingerprints on the tile, keep a damp cloth around you at all times and wipe that stuff up immediately. Keep your tile clean, keep your grout lines clean, keep your cement board clean, keep your handles clean. Promise there will be a lot less headaches in the end. Alright, I got all the full tiles down, and now you don't have to do it like this, but I personally like to save myself some time by saving all the cut tiles for last. And I just gotta do it here, 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 and here. I like to save myself even more time by cutting them all at once. By laying them out and marking them out and cutting them all out in one sitting saves me so much time from going back and forth from the floor to the tile cutter. When it comes to cutting tile, there really is no better way to do it than to do it with a wet tile saw. And they're so easy to use. You just fill it up with water and turn it on. Now, I'm sure you know how these things work, but it keeps water pouring on the blade to keep the blade cool while it's cutting the tile. And that's supposed to prevent the blade from burning out and the tile from breaking. Well, it's supposed to anyway. But I bet you know somebody that has a tile saw, and if you don't, you can actually rent these at any of the big box stores. Now, one thing I will say when you are using a wet saw, obviously use eye protection, but go nice and easy. Ceramic's pretty easy to cut, but porcelain is just a little finicky and it loves to snap where you don't want it to. Now, if you have something to go around, like say a toilet flange or something like that, this kind of curve might be very difficult for a tile saw, so MARSHALLTOWN has these awesome professional grade tile nippers. That's why they're called tile nippers. That's how you do that. So obviously in real tight spots like this, you're not gonna be able to get in there with the notch side of the trowel on the floor. So it's okay to go ahead and back butter the tiles with the notch side. That'll look really good after I clean things up. You're not helping at all. Not even a little. All right, it's the next day and we are in the home stretch because it is time to grout. But a quick word on sanded grout versus non-sanded grout. Sanded grout it has sand in it, so it has a texture, but it's stronger. So if you have grout lines that are 1/8 inch or more, you have to go with the sanded because it's stronger, it can go in those bigger grout lines. If you have 1/8 inch or less, then you want to go with non-sanded. It has no sand in it and it's got a smooth texture to it, but it can get into those really fine grout lines. Now, since we've chosen an 1/8 inch grout line, we're on that gray area where we could go with either one. So we happen to chose sanded. Now we just need 3 tools to get this job done. We need a float, which is basically just a spongy trowel. We need a sponge and a bucket of clean water. Mixing this stuff up is the same as mixing up the thin set. You want like a peanut butter consistency. So we're gonna mix up our grout and you're just going to spread it out over the floor and work it into the grout lines really good. You want to try avoiding voids. So that's why I really want to push that stuff in there, work it in there really good. And what I like to do is I work in like 2 foot by 2 foot area. I work my grout into the grout lines and then it's time to scrape off the excess. But there's a very specific way you want to do that. Not only do you want to place your float at a 45-degree angle to the floor, but you also want to place it at a 45-degree angle to your grout lines. As you scrape it across your grout lines, it won't dig into the grout lines, working the grout out of the grout lines. Then you have to go back over it again. Before you move on to your little work area, take a damp sponge and clean that area off. Not so hard that we're working the grout out of the grout lines, but enough so that we're working the haze off of the tile. And you're gonna work like this in your 2 foot by 2 foot sections, one after the other. Once you've got the whole floor done, you're going to wait for the tile to haze over. You'll know when it's ready because you're gonna take your thumbnail and once you're not able to make an impression in the grout, it's ready to be kind of, I guess you could say, polished. Get yourself some fresh, clean water, a fresh sponge, then you're really gonna start working that sponge and working that haze off. Do not skip this step and do not wait overnight to do this step. So this is another step in the process where we want to be clean as we work. It's so important. But as you're cleaning the tiles off, keep that sponge clean. Wipe off the excess, then wring your sponge out. If the water gets too dirty, change that water out. It's gonna make things go way smoother. Oh, and by the way, I checked to see if Rapid Set has a grout. They don't. Yet. That's it. Grout's all done. We only have a few more steps to do to complete this whole project. Obviously, we have to install the shoe molding around the perimeter of the room. But before I do that, I want to seal the grout. Now, this is another step that people love to skip. But don't do that to yourself. You already put in all this hard work, especially in a kitchen area, the grout will stain. So make sure you seal it. Then after that, we can wrap this project up and call it done. So you like it? Well, I must say, I'm very happy with the way this tile turned out. To be quite honest with you, I really wasn't sure about the pattern, but I like it. Thank you so much to Rapid Set for sponsoring this video with the all-tile mortar. I actually never used this stuff before and I really like it. If you've never done a tile project before, I really hope that this gives you the confidence to start your very first tile project. Even if you've done many tile projects before or you're a contractor, I really hope that you got something out of this. Well, that's it for this project. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please think about doing so. I promise you won't regret it. And I'll see you in the next video. Are you a good girl or a bad girl? Yeah, I agree. You're gonna get thin set on your paws. Thanks. Oh, thin set. Nope, nope. Everything is the way you want it. Maisie. Yes, paw. Good job. Roo. 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 All we have to do is complete a couple more steps. Maisie, out. Out. Okay, out, out, out. Maisie, out, out, out. Maisie, out. Maisie, out. Maisie, out. Maisie, out. Maisie, out, out. Out. Maisie, out. Maisie, out. Maisie, out. Out. All the way. Out. Maisie, out.